video is just going to be a chatty one, really. I saw a blogger and YouTuber that I absolutely love, Holly White, film a mental health Q&A a few months ago now, I think, and I just loved it. I thought it was such a great idea for a video, and I haven't seen anybody else do it, so it kind of inspired me really to just have a chat with you guys about any questions that you might have for me. So I just thought I would give it a go. So I asked on Twitter whether any of you had any questions that you'd like me to answer, and I've had a few responses. So yeah, just thought I'd have a chat really. And I'm actually not going to read anybody's names out. A few people asked to be anonymous, and I thought actually I don't really need to share anybody's names with regards to this because it's such a private thing. So also, if you can hear like scuttling, it's Jamie's bunny. He is a house bunny, so he lives in the house, and I'm filming in Jamie's lounge today, and he lives in the hallway, and he's purposely being loud, I think. Yeah, so I wanted to film today's video. I think I sent this tweet out ages ago, and I didn't get round to filming it, I think because I've been in quite a good place over the past month or so. I've been feeling quite well, and then this last week I've had a real dip and I felt really crap and sad, and I think it kind of reminded me that actually I should still film this video. So first question is, how do you cope with people's comments and opinions that are negative? I've been suffering with anxiety and depression for just over a year now, and a lot of it is to do with people judging me and bullying because of my cerebral palsy. I constantly feel like I'm being judged or no one will like me because I'm disabled. That makes me feel so sad. Like, yeah, just let me say how sorry I am that you feel that way, and that honestly anybody that is worth being your friend is never going to judge you for anything, like certainly not for a disability. Like, I know from having been bullied that you can feel incredibly alone, and I can't speak from a disability standpoint, but there are going to be people that will be your true friends, and just, I know it feels impossible sometimes, but really just try and focus on them and know that the people that are mean to you because of it are just not worth your time at all. I think that really it's something that comes with age and maturity for everybody, for bullies and for victims that are being bullied. It's really easy to sit here now as an adult and say to younger people to ignore what people say. I really don't think that ignoring a bully is the answer. I personally think that silence is kind of the worst way to deal with bullying. I feel like confronting bullies is maybe not the healthiest way. I would say that talking to people is so important. Like, I just wish that when I was at school I had said to my teachers what was happening, because really it would have stopped. Like, I know it's not as simple as that, and when you're at school you worry about what people are going to say and what the repercussions will be if you say something to a teacher and then you're going to get in trouble. But I think really what we need to stamp out at an earlier age, that I think we do better as adults, is not accepting that kind of behaviour and just taking it as like an okay thing for people to be able to do. Talk to people, talk to your family, talk to your friends, and talk to your teachers. Like, it's so much better to be open and honest about your situation, because keeping it to yourself, like, depression is such a lonely thing and anxiety is such an isolating thing, that I think if you do keep it to yourself, you're only going on a downward spiral. Like, sharing your feelings, I find has been one of the best ways to help me cope now, so that people know where I'm at and can be on the same page as me. Okay, next question is, how do you motivate yourself to work when you're having a bad time with mental health? I find this one like so difficult, I'm not gonna lie. Especially being self-employed, it's even harder. I think being a self-employed person, I am constantly quite hard on myself anyway, because if I don't work I don't earn money, and it's really easy to say it would be easier if I had a 9-to-5 job to go to that's just going to pay the bills. Like, yes, it would be easier to an extent, but I think when you struggle with mental health, it doesn't matter your situation, it's all encompassing, and it's going to be so difficult to motivate yourself to do anything when you feel that way. I find it, again, I'm going to report back to saying about speaking to people being so important. I think that if you are open and honest with the people that matter to that situation, you're going to get the support that you need. I think it's the more we speak about mental health, the better we're going to be able to cope with it as a society. So if you're struggling with motivation for work, or even getting into work when you're feeling like you are, speaking to your boss or your line manager or whatever about your situation, I think is really important. They can't expect more from you than you're able to give. And also, I find it really beneficial for me to just say that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for the day. I don't want to give myself a huge task that I know I'm not going to be able to complete, because it's going to make me feel worse. So me and my friend Laura say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So I literally just take each day, like sometimes a minute at a time. What am I capable of today? Like, knowing myself and knowing that if I set myself small enough goals that I'll be able to achieve, it'll be easier for me to get through the day. Like, that's how I kind of try to inspire motivation for myself when I'm feeling down. Okay, next question. To what extent do you think that art, music, reading, films, etc. can help / lift? I hope it all goes well. So I think it really depends what kind of person you are. This is like very subjective. So I have found something to be really helpful for me. I signed up for Cineworld's unlimited cinema tickets. So I pay £17 a month and I can go to the cinema as much as I want to, like whenever I want, for free, essentially. It's not for free because I'm paying per month. And I have found that so therapeutic. So I can go to the cinema on my own, I can go with my friend, I can go with my boyfriend, like whatever I want. I have personally found going to the cinema on my own really lovely. It's just escapism, and I also feel like I'm the same with books. I also feel like I'm learning something. So if I'm going to watch a film, I feel like it's almost an education, and with a book as well, I feel like I'm like using my brain, and so it automatically makes me feel better. So I think it's really beneficial to invest in some you time, so whether that's reading or listening to music or a podcast or going to see a film. I think that that's really important, but obviously it's personal preference to what you like to do. Okay, next question. When you're feeling down, is there one thing you always go to, as in to try and cheer you up for a while? I know that I like my own company and being at home. So if I am feeling down, I will always plan in a day where I don't have to do anything. So I can be at home, I can watch Netflix, I can eat really good food, I can just chill and have a bath and like just properly relax. Like, being at home and having my comforts around me is the one thing that always makes me kind of like calm, and like I can readjust and bring myself back down, or back up really, should I say. Like, I find just being at home really helpful. Like, I love it. Oh, okay, so next question is, do you feel mental health / psychology should be a compulsory subject in school for children in order to create awareness? That's quite difficult, because I think as you get older, there's obviously so many choices with subjects at school and what you can study, and I think maybe psychology as a subject is potentially too specific and isn't potentially necessary for everybody to have like in-depth knowledge of. I do think it would be really great if there could be regular mental health awareness kind of like workshops at school. I think that that would be so beneficial, that kind of like every month or so there's a workshop that happens at schools that means that people are getting an education and more information on mental health. Like, I think that's really important. Next question. Is counselling a good idea? I just feel like I can't help myself and I've tried so many things and my anxiety still stays strong. I haven't tried counselling yet. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I feel like everybody should be in counselling regardless of like how they feel. I just think it should be like a compulsory thing that everybody does. I wanted to get counselling, and I had quite a difficult experience with it actually. I went to my GP, I said I wanted to be referred privately because I didn't want to wait on the NHS, and then my GP kind of turned around and sent me a letter that said they had no recommendations, and then I rang back and spoke to the secretary and said, I've had a letter to say that there are no recommendations for me to see someone privately. Like, what do you suggest I do? And the secretary said, try Google. And I was like, that's horrendous. Like, we should be able to go to our GP and speak about something that's so difficult to speak about. Like, it took me so much to go to the doctors and say that I needed help, that you just don't expect for them to turn around and treat you like you're stupid. Like, I know I can Google therapists, but I want there to be a hub of help and support around me in my local area to say, these are your options, not Google and hope you find somebody. Like, that just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. So it kind of put me off the process, and I haven't gone back to look at it again yet, but I definitely will. So I would say that if you are struggling and you feel like you aren't able to manage it and have spoken to your GP already, like, definitely look into counselling. Okay, so next thing is, I've recently gone through an intense breakup and have gotten into my depression mindset and can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. How can I just make it better? Breakups are horrendous. I actually had quite a bad breakup like 3.5 years ago now, I think, and it really broke me, it ruined me, but it also made me, and that sounds really ridiculous, but it's so true. Like, I went through that, I know I had to go through that period to achieve what I've gone on to achieve now. Like, I wouldn't have been able to have the life that I have now if I'd have stayed in that situation. If that breakup hadn't have happened, my life would be so different now. And that's so hard and difficult to see when you're in the grasps of a breakup. Like, they're so horrible. I think listening to what your mind and body need is really important in a breakup. There isn't any right or wrong way to deal with it. Like, the process isn't linear. Like, there's so many things that are going to happen to you and so many feelings that you're going to experience. I just think, for me personally, what I found to be most helpful was to make plans. So in the year of my breakup, I booked a trip to Bali for a month, and later in the year I booked a trip to America. And obviously they're quite extravagant things, but I kind of had the mindset of, like, I've been working my whole life to save for a future with this person and it's all gone to shit, so I'm going to travel. I'm going to use that money and I'm going to travel. That was my mindset, but I think it doesn't need to be something like that necessarily. Like, I just found making plans for the future helped me see forward. So, like, having things to look forward to, whether that's a gig or even something as small as a cinema date or whatever, like, just making plans for your future, like, whether that's in a month's time or 6 months. Like, I found that really helpful. Okay, do you have any tips on self-care, particularly in the worst moments of anxiety and depression? I feel like this just goes back to what I said before about listening to yourself and what you want and being honest with other people. It's one of the hardest things to be open and honest with somebody when you're feeling how you are, but I think communicating with people, telling them how you feel, is so important. And if you can do that, then you can relax a little bit and, like, focus on what's going to make you feel better right now in this moment. Like, it's definitely personal preference. Like, I don't think I could say tips on self-care. I think it's whatever makes you feel good, and for me that is being at home and having my home comforts and like embracing that. And I think also having a structure, so a plan to do things, whether that's like going out for a walk. Like I found when I was feeling really low, going out for walks every day was really beneficial for me. Just getting some fresh air and some time on my own. I'd listen to a podcast and I'd go for a walk for an hour and I just felt so much better. So I think it's all about what you think will, like what normally makes you feel good. And I think when you are in the grips of depression, it can be hard to remember what makes you happy. And I think it's also important to maybe not think about what makes you happy, but what doesn't make you feel horrendous. So like eating really well and watching your favourite film, like that's not going to make you feel like horrendous. That's going to feel a bit more achievable than maybe going out for dinner with a friend. So it's like what feels manageable and making sure that you allow time for that too. So yeah. Any advice on how to help others dealing with mental health issues? That's an amazing question, because I have been on the other end of this. So before I ever knew what depression felt like, one of my best friends had depression and I had no idea what it felt like. I couldn't comprehend what that meant for her, and we actually ended up falling out because I so desperately wanted to be her friend and she so desperately needed to be alone, and there was such a breakdown of communication between us that I just thought she didn't like me anymore, and she thought that I was just being unfair because of how she was feeling, and like we just completely, like our friendship just completely broke down. And then we've come back together now, we are friends again, and it was such a horrible time that now I understand how it feels. I can completely sympathise with that situation, and I'm so glad that I'm so sorry that we had to go through that, but I'm so glad that I've had that experience, that now if she's struggling or any other friends are struggling with depression, I know how to deal with myself and them. Like, whereas before I would say there is nothing more isolating than next door's dog is barking, sorry. There is nothing more isolating than depression, and you just feel completely alone. And if you can, like, check in, but don't be overpowering. Like, don't try and make plans with someone that's struggling. Just let them know that you're there. So like, even if it's not being like, how are you today? Like, how is today? Because chances are today is shit. Like, so maybe not asking how they are every day is the best thing to do, but checking in, just being like, sending them a funny meme, or like letting them know what you've been up to that day, or like asking them questions about other things. Like, just checking in and like them knowing that you're there will mean so much. So if you're able to give that support, it's so hard because you look at mental health and you're like, just because someone is struggling with mental health doesn't mean that the rest of the world stops, and that is so true. And as someone who suffers with depression, you as a person have to be self-aware enough to know that the whole world doesn't revolve around you, and that you still need to put effort in with people that you love and care about. Like, that's really important. And it's about getting a good balance between both of those things. Like, but I feel like knowing that somebody there but isn't expecting too much of me is the best situation that I could ask for. And that is a big ask. It's not the standard friendship that you would normally have, and it's a compromise from your friend's perspective, or from your perspective if you're not suffering. Like, it's a lot, and it's not easy. And I think that, like, I've really realised where my true friendships lie, having gone through this now, and I'm really lucky to have the friends that I do have. And a lot of that's been down to me being really honest, because if you just fall off the face of the earth as someone suffering, you can't expect people to understand what's going on. You need to communicate what you need. Like, that's so important. And so yeah, helping somebody, you're not going to be able to fix someone. Like, that's the end of it. Like, you can't stop someone feeling how they're feeling, but just letting them know that you're there without being kind of blatant about it is probably the best advice that I could give. So yes, I think that is all of the questions. So thank you so much if you sent questions in, because I think they're all amazing questions and things that I just wouldn't think to talk about. So if you guys have any more questions, then please leave them below. Maybe I can do another one of these if it's necessary, or I'll just answer the questions in the comments below. And I'm really grateful that I have this platform to talk to you guys about this stuff, because especially when I'm feeling down, like, sometimes it takes so much energy to get myself up and do anything, and so setting up this video to film takes so much, but knowing that I have people that support how I'm feeling just makes it feel so much better. Like, I can't explain how grateful I am for that. And I also am potentially going to have some exciting news to share with you guys soon, I hope. So I'm not going to say anything more than that, but yes, stay tuned. And yes, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It would be lovely to have you, and I will see you all soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.